News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Look at this. There's a nice little thing flashing across my screen. I just retweeted it. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meeting with Donald J. Trump, greeting him at the front door of his palatial estate. And unlike the horrific treatment that Bibi received from both Biden and Kamala, including her snap at her SWAT at Gaza, over Israel and the bombing of Gaza. Israel has recently applied very hard pressure, like I'm talking recently, like in the past days or so, to get their hostages back and to pound and destroy Hamas. And for that, she attacks them. Listen, ma'am, almost exactly 72% of every Gazan supports Hamas after they raped and killed and kidnapped all those Jews. And as they're holding them hostage, as they're raping the men hostages as well, one of the male hostages just came out and who was freed and just did his first interview saying he was in fact raped by these men, these terrorist satanic men. And then also the women are being sexually tortured and raped in their captivity as hostages, according to the UN. So this is who Kamala cares about. 3/4 of people who still love Hamas and love Jewish blood running through the streets of Israel, the sick, wicked, radical Islamists, 3/4 of them in Gaza, unfortunately. Nonetheless, getting to the vice presidential pick, I am worried about J.D. Vance. I don't think he was the right pick. I said that when Trump had him in the top three. Rubio would have been fine. I know he's from Florida, but he can do what Dick Cheney did. I'm being serious. That's what Dick Cheney did. Dick Cheney moved to Wyoming to be able to be on the ticket with Bush because he was in Texas. And the same thing could have happened with DeSantis, but he didn't want him. That's fine. Apparently it wasn't on the short list or anything, but DeSantis may have said, don't ask me, privately may have said when they talked, because they did reconnect, and maybe he said, please don't put me on the list. In case you're thinking, I'm not saying you are, he probably said, but if you are, please don't, because I just want to run solid on my own after your term is over. But I support you 100%, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, and there was one more. Tim Scott didn't make the short list. It was Vance. And you know who he could have really picked? And I know that many of you did not want this, and I understand why, but listen, Doug Burgum was the other one. Doug would have been fine, even though he wouldn't have done anything for the ticket. It would just been that calm, moderate type, but he could have picked Glenn Youngkin, the Virginia governor. And I know that Youngkin probably wants to stay on and run for president, and he would be very, very good candidate. I don't know all of his positions, but overall, that guy's awesome. And if he runs in 4 years, I think he can get the election. But he would have been an amazing pick for Trump because it would have put Virginia in play. Now it is not with with Kamala. And Nikki Haley would have been great. Like, he would have pretty much won with Haley and possibly Youngkin, I think. And instead, he's got Vance, who is not going to help him. In fact, it's hurting him. He has negative. Usually when anybody is introduced as a vice president in the weeks afterwards is a honeymoon where they have, and their ratings usually stay the same in a positive area, where they're positive, I can't remember, 5 or 10, and they usually stay there because they don't get too in the weeds. That's for the main candidate. Vance is negative by like 10, and it's not just about that. It's also about, look, he's a mini Trump, and I like him for that, but I think he belongs in the Senate. I think Ted Cruz should never elevate past the Senate, not because he doesn't deserve it, because he is perfect in there. He's the perfect gadfly. Our side, our gadfly. The man is incredibly, in a good way, provocative and master debater. I got to say those words, pause it for a minute there in between. But I think that Trump made a mistake. And a lot of people are saying that now. Look, he could still change his mind. Somebody actually mentioned that in one of the news clips yesterday. that you never know, he could, and I don't think he will, though. It's totally against who he is. I just am very concerned. If she puts Josh Shapiro on the ticket, if Kamala does, Josh Shapiro has a 10-point advantage over Trump, or 11-point advantage over Trump right now in favorability in the state of Pennsylvania. Trump is a little bit slightly favored now over Kamala, but barely, unfortunately, with her new honeymoon numbers. But it shows that Josh Shapiro, actually, Trump is 50 in Pennsylvania, and Shapiro's 61% approval. If Josh Shapiro's on that ticket, it's going to be very hard for him to turn down the Kamala ticket, I think. However, she is so radical, he will never get any policies in as vice president. It'll just be to win the state and to win moderates. But the problem is, it's her, not him. And she runs the show, and she's going to go in there for 8 years and destroy this country for Obama's 4th and 5th terms. So that's my thought. But here's my question. Why do you think J.D. Vance is a bad choice, or maybe a bad choice for VP for President Trump, as I do? I think he's just a mini Trump, and he doesn't add anything to the ticket, and he kind of hurts it because it's reinforcing 2 Trumps versus 1 Pence, and it does not have to be Pence. I know that most people listening despise Pence nowadays, blah blah blah. I don't, but I don't like him politically in any way anymore. But a Pence that's not Mike Pence would be perfect. Hence, Haley, Youngkin, Tim Scott. I mean, that guy would be perfect. And there's no way he would win the following election because he's just not aggressive enough as the candidate, but he's perfect as a vice presidential candidate. And I'm bummed out about that. What do you think Trump should do? What should Trump do if Vance is the wrong guy? I was actually thinking that Trump could just have J.D. Vance bow out on his own, where Trump's like, what? He pretends to be surprised. And he tells JD to come up with something, whatever you want. Health, marriage, Senate becomes too important to you, whatever. And just say, I'm going to step down for that reason. And then Trump has to pretend he's like shocked, surprised, and a little upset about it. And then he can pick the right one. I don't think he will, though. And then why would Senator Mark Kelly, that is supposedly, according to pollster Frank Luntz, who may not be right, because they always get these tips, they could be wrong. Pollster Frank Luntz said today, I'm hearing from multiple credible sources that with Democrat leadership that Mark Kelly is emerging as the leading candidate for vice president with Kamala, at least as of this moment. His centrist approach and anti-gun work is seen as both complementary and additive to Kamala ticket. Pennsylvania has more electoral votes, but Arizona is significant and a key swing state. His selection would likely take Arizona off the GOP target map. I doubt it, but what do I know about Arizona? I don't. I hope that's not the case. But they literally are probably not going to pick Josh Shapiro, even though he's a finalist, and he should be the vice presidential candidate because he's a Jew. That's John King from CNN saying that's a problem. And that is the New Republic in an article about this. I'll share some highlights from that with you next. And why is J.D. Vance, according to City Journal, a publication that I respect and like and quote quite often, or not quite often, but often enough to give them tremendous credibility in my show. They write about the story about why J.D. Vance is being picked, and it's not as much for what you think, and I'll share what they say. Harris's candidates, and by the way, our number, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Why do you think, lines wide open, chime in right now, why do you think J.D. Vance is a bad VP choice for President Trump? What should Trump do if Vance is the wrong guy? And why would Senator Mark Kelly, or would you think possibly Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, why would Mark Kelly be a threat, or maybe Josh Shapiro, to Trump's campaign? Who's the biggest threat, in your opinion, for vice president as Kamala? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open. Chime in right now. Next, I also have this. The article that sparked all this discussion with you is Axios. Some Republicans express buyer's remorse over Vance VP pick. I'll share a lot of these feelings, and it's bullet points, but it's really telling stuff, and I do think it's accurate. Next on the Chris Kroc Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. Okay, some Republicans expressed buyer's remorse over J.D. Vance pick. I'll share that with you in a sec. But my questions for you are, why do you think J.D. Vance is a bad VP choice for President Trump? If you do. And maybe you think he's a good choice. By all means, why do you think he's a good choice? What should Trump do if Vance is the wrong guy? What do you want to see him do? And why would Senator Mark Kelly or maybe Governor Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, why would Arizona Senator Kelly or Governor Pennsylvania Shapiro, why would they be a threat to Trump's campaign? Who do you think is the biggest threat as VP for Kamala? Other ones that are at the top of the list, Pete Buttigieg, I think that's a joke. I don't think he's going to do it. He can't fill potholes in a city of 119,000. He's been a disaster as the transportation secretary. Everybody knows it. Shapiro will be great, but disgustingly, the New Republic, I believe a left publication, said the one vice presidential candidate pick who could ruin the Democrat unity, and that's Josh Shapiro because he's a Jew, as CNN's John King literally said on CNN. Not that he believes it, but he said that would be a big problem. I think he's right. That's how much the radical Jew haters are embedded into the Democrat Party. I think the biggest threat would be Shapiro. Governor Roy Cooper from North Carolina also could be pretty. I don't know anything about him, but I know he's supposedly a moderate Democrat type in a slightly Trump-leaning state. And Governor Andy Beshear, Bashir from Kentucky would be a big threat, but he's not going to be doing it, as what I was told in one of the things I read. But chime in right now. We got lines wide open, 800-288-WBAP. Okay, from Axios, here's the Republicans expressing buyer's remorse over J.D. Vance pick in the story. The road got a lot harder. He was the only pick. It wasn't the safe pick, and I totally agree. And I think everybody has now realized that, said one House Republican to Axios on the condition of anonymity. Marco Rubio, Doug Burgum with the other two finalists. I think they both would have been just fine, neutral or better at least. Haley or Youngkin would have been deadly for the Democrats, I think, but he didn't want them. And on the whole, another House Republican said, on the whole, the feeling is he doesn't add much. I agree. I hope he doesn't take away, and that's my problem. I think he might. I don't know. I think adding two Trumps on the ballot was a mistake in my personal opinion. Quote, and now with Kamala at the top, the capacity to have expanded the map a little bit would have been much more beneficial. See, that's what I'm saying. Coming out, but see, they did this masterfully. The Democrats, when they lied about Joe and Kamala lied about Joe. There's good news about that, by the way. I played you audio the other day of a panelist of independent swing voters in Wisconsin, and two of them said that Kamala definitely covered up the health conditions of Joe. And then another one I just got tonight from Pennsylvania swing voters, or, you know, whatever you call them, on the fence voters in Pennsylvania, also brought up the same type of thing. Here we go. This is Georgia swing voters. Here we go on, I think, CNN. Here we go.
People are assuming that because I'm a Latina woman that, I'm going to be excited about her. And it's not that easy for me because I worry about character. We had somebody that was the right hand of somebody that was not healthy who was silent about it. And that concerns me. That's
incredibly good. Because granted, it's only one independent there, but that's on CNN. And then you had two on a panel of maybe 4 or 5 that expressed serious concern that Kamala also covered up and cannot be trusted because of that. That's good. We want more and more of that. Pray that does come out more and more. Coming out of the convention, Axios says Vance is the least like non-incumbent VP nominee since at least 1980. Ouch. And I agree. I don't know every vice president from 80 to now that didn't make it, the first, what was his name? Dan Quayle, Potato. And the first to register a net negative favorable rating. Look at this. You guys, the first vice presidential candidate with the GOP to register a net negative favorability rating. That is not good in my humble. Author of Hillbilly ideology, by the way, that doesn't mean anything. People got into it, that's gone. Now they're hearing all the bad stuff from him, unfortunately. He won his 2022 election in Ohio by 6 points, 2 points less than Trump. Okay, 2 points less than Trump in Ohio. That gives you your clue. Apparently, he's 16 underwater in his own home state, apparently. That's bad. I'm just telling you. Vance underperformed every statewide Republican on the ticket that year, running 20 points behind Governor DeWine. See that? He underperformed Trump in 2020. He underperformed DeWine by 20 points, the Republican moderate governor. This is what I'm talking about. This is a problem. Trump allies acknowledged Vance's selection was, quote, born out of cockiness, meant to run up margins with the base as in a blowout rather than persuade swing voters in a nail-biter. The Atlantic's Tim Alberta wrote it. I agree. And that's a big problem. In the cockiness of the polls, now you got this. We're getting our butts handed to us. That bothers me. That bothers me. And I hope Trump does pressure him to get out without him saying he did it. All right, Kevin, Fort Worth, WBAP, what's up?
Yeah, J.D. Vance was the right pick at the right time, but the Democrats changed the playing field. It's like if you were trying to pick a hand of cards and suddenly the game changed.
They changed the rules of the game by blowing Joe out and then putting her in. Yes, and now they can pick to counter. They can counter program Trump.
Right. So J.D. Vance is the perfect combat for super liberal, progressive Kamala Harris. And suddenly he's an outlier against who we don't know, but that's where he's positioned with the media. I think unfortunately he's being made a caricature of presently, and that will continue.
Yes.
Potentially indefinitely.
Yes. It will. And so what do you think Trump should do? Should he tell Vance to get out and then Trump can act surprised and disappointed?
I think it's a messaging situation. They're both tied with the Project 2025, and they both need to distance themselves.
I agree.
Whether it's these...
Trump has repeatedly and overtly. Vance has not. He has some ties through people that he knows or worked with in there.
Right. There just needs to be a messaging where it
over and over again. Yes.
Regardless of personal belief.
Okay.
What can we do based on the current makeup of Congress?
I got to roll, but who's the most threat to us as a VP for Cackling Kamala?
As a VP, I couldn't tell you. Okay. It doesn't matter, honestly.
Okay. Thank you for your great call, Kevin. I appreciate it. Keep it up. All right, next. U.S. intercepts Russian and Chinese bombers on the first joint mission off Alaska. Russian warships to make Havana port visit this weekend, and so much more. And what do we got? A feckless dementia or Parkinson's or Alzheimer leader and a leftist vice president who's starting to run the country. All that next. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Let's hear Donald J. Trump in his own words, and I'm going to ask you about this. Listen closely. This is today.
I think her remarks were disrespectful. If we win, it'll be very simple. If we don't, you're going to end up with major wars in the Middle East and maybe a third world war.
He's talking about, the difference between him, 4 years of Trump or 4 years of Kamala. And I agree with him that we will be closer to a World War III than we would be. We will be much further from a World War III possibility if Trump gets elected, and we will be much closer to it with her. Because that will mean instability and weakness and refusal to hold terrorist regimes and our adversaries / enemies. I consider Russia and Iran. I mean, I guess they're not our enemies. Well, Iran is. But Russia, you could say adversary because we still, I don't know, we still pick up the phone and call them. Enemies, you don't usually work with them in any way, shape, or form. I hate to say that, but China is our enemy. They are our enemy, unequivocally. Russia is an adversary, and Iran is our enemy. And I think they're going to move. They're going to do more moves for the Islamic Caliphate. You know right now what's going on in Iraq? In Iraq today, I was listening to Pentagon correspondent Jennifer Griffin, who's an incredible reporter, and she said that talking about interviewing experts today on Fox News with Brett Baer's show, that the Islamic Caliphate, which is what Iran is literally, its purpose is to create that Islamic Caliphate, along with to wipe out and kill every Jew on the face of this earth and destroy Israel. They are funding the terrorism like they always have been, like Qasem Soleimani, who Trump executed 4 years ago. He was in Iraq, always doing what he always does, what Iran always does, training, arming, and being in charge of all the terrorists on the ground in Iraq to get us out of Iraq, to kill us and get us out of Iraq. Right now, we are taking tremendous blows in Iraq on our bases daily, and they're bad. And what it is the parliament and the folks in charge of Iraq do not want us there, or not all of them, probably maybe it's getting close to a slight majority, if not a majority, of Iraqi politicians want the United States gone, which means our bases, we have 2 bases there, I believe, and they want both of them gone, and they don't want us to be there. And guess what else? If we get kicked out of Iraq, we have no one on the ground on our side as far as not operatives, I should say, as far as bases. We have no base of operations, as far as I'm aware of, in the entire freaking Middle East, other than the Air Force Base, not even an Air Force Base, but, well, it might be considered an Air Force Base in, I think in UAE. I think we have at least an area where we operate out of to refuel and this and that. But I'm telling, for our big boy jets, but I'm telling you that we will have nowhere to have 2,500 troops to kill, capture, and destroy and grab terrorists and interrogate them and do anything we need to do to them to get the information we need to do to make sure we're not dead again, like what happened in 9/11, which is going to happen because of Biden letting in millions of illegals. But we are at war with Al-Qaeda, and guess what? This top official that she interviewed, it was a former one or current one that's an expert on all this stuff I'm talking about right now, he said that that will happen. The caliphate will be more likely for Iran to achieve if we're kicked out of Iraq. They are working super hard and spending tons of money on that we've given them through Joe Biden. Billions a month in oil pumping. They now present, Iran went from 300,000 barrels a day with Trump to 3 million barrels a day, 300,000 to 3 million. They now provide 3% of the world's oil. That gives them, I think, 10 or 20 or 30 billion, maybe even 40 billion a month. You understand that? That's what they're using to kill Jews and to kill us and to get us out of Iraq. We had a $1 billion Air Force base called Bagram Air Force Base, where all we needed was Trump's plan was to keep 2,500 soldiers there as a strike force. We have no intelligence operations direct to work out of, and no military strike force and base to keep terrorists locked up at, interrogate them, and to prosecute the war against terrorists. And he also said that ISIS is stronger than ever. ISIS is now in a position it can attack us. He said, yes, they want to. Yes, they're in more of a position right now. Yes, they can attack us in the West, including us. And yes, they're strong. ISIS is again. And yes, Al-Qaeda is. And yes, it's because we don't have what we used to have in the Middle East. And yes, it's because they're trying, and that's why they're trying to push us out. It will become the issue grandeur with no way to strike and kill those people that are going to come kill us, and no way to capture, kill, and kidnap off the streets terrorists to interrogate them, to know what we need to do, who we need to kill, capture, and stop from killing us. And I'm going to tell you what that means. When something goes down, got to send an aircraft carrier or something of the like down there, and then you got to fly off of that. We don't want to be here, and Joe Biden and Cackling Camel will destroy. They're destroying that, and they're going to destroy us even further. I'll ask a few questions on this now. I want you to chime in at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. By the way, I believe China and Russia will be more likely to invade Taiwan and take more of Ukraine, and then Iran will be more likely to take over more of its caliphate and do more war and killing of the Jews and us if Kamala stays in. Why do you think China and Russia would be more likely to invade Taiwan and take more of Ukraine with Biden or Kamala as president? Why do you think, or how likely do you think it will be that China and Russia will be more likely to invade Taiwan, take more of Ukraine, and even Iran to do more of their terrorism and more of their war if Kamala and Biden are president? Biden for the next 6 months and then Kamala after that. And why would our adversaries be more afraid of Trump than Kamala Biden? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Our adversaries are more afraid of Trump than Kamala. And guess what else? These same people were telling Jennifer Griffin today on Fox News that in fact, the Hamas people right now are being told by an Arab nation that is helping them negotiate against us or with us, or the Israel and us, that to Hamas, you better get this deal now and get this done, because when Trump comes in office, he's going to come after you a lot worse, and you don't know how bad it's going to be. And that means that's why they're close to a deal, because Hamas is afraid of Trump, and they love Biden, and they love Kamala. Kamala loves them. Kamala's more concerned about the Hamas supporters. Remember, 3/4 of every Gazan supported Hamas in a poll inside of Gaza after they slaughtered, murdered, and kidnapped and are raping the Jews right now. 3 out of 4 of them love Hamas. They want to kill and rape every Jew. And they want Kamala. She's more sympathetic to Hamas and to Gaza than she is for Israel, and she's an idiot with regarding to this, a fool, I should say, a nicer way of saying it, a fool with regards to this and this policy. This woman couldn't get herself out of a quarter of her paper bag for any of this, but she will bring us closer to World War III. Trump is right. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Next is Russian and Chinese bombers flying within 200 miles on a joint exercise, which they've never done. And a Russia warship is about to dock in 90 miles off of Florida in Cuba. None of this would happen with Trump. None of it. 800-288-WBAP. That is next. Plus, what I haven't shared with you yet. I haven't shared with you the audio of Kamala having making a RuPaul commercial. Jennifer Aniston attacks J.D. Vance. And what Democrat and others will absolutely not right now commit to voting for Kamala Harris? What swing state Democrats who are up for election will not even commit to voting for her or supporting Kamala? Next. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin saying the U.S. about the U.S. intercepting Russian and Chinese bombers on a joint mission right off Alaska's coast, right before Biden gave his Monday night speech, or was it Tuesday night or whatever it was, where he didn't answer the question about why he's withdrawing, but pretended to. Yeah, never before have we seen Russia and China fighter jets fly right off our coast, right before Biden. That was not a coincidence. All this is planned out weeks in advance, months or whatever it was, days in advance. And this from another one of the top outlets, I think this is from the Times or the Wall Street Journal. Russian and Chinese warplanes intercepted off the coast by Alaska and U.S.-Canadian fighters Wednesday. First time strategic bombers from 2 U.S. adversaries ever have operated together near North America. The Russian Tu-95 Bear and 2 Chinese H-6 bombers. Okay, so 5 freaking warplanes. Dude, 2 Chinese bombers and, 4. 2 Chinese bombers and 2 Russian fighter ships, I guess. I don't know what the Tu-95 Bear is. Holy crap. They came as close to 200 miles off Alaska. First time we've seen that, SecDef Austin said. Here's another one. This is also coming in from Reuters. Warships are from Russia's Baltic Fleet, not just one, but multiple, will make a port visit to Havana July 27th through the 30th, tomorrow over the weekend for 3 days. It was reported by Russian news agencies citing Cuba's defense ministry the second visit in a year. They're training. They have a training ship, a patrol frigate, and the refueling tanker all taking part in a visit that would meet the head of the Cuban Navy. This is all messaging and all threatening and all posturing and all making us look bad and shaming us and shaking us up and making us fear. Joe Biden's afraid. This man's afraid. His policies are being led by fear. Russia could do this. We gotta kiss their butts. We don't want to provoke them. Remember Joe said a small incursion would be okay. Remember that? That's what you get. A small incursion means jump in there, y'all. It's like telling your daughter's boyfriend, a small this or that will be okay. Just don't make it a big one. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into the details on that, but you can imagine where that's going. Would you ever say that? No. Wait till marriage is my answer. But, kiss, etc. Once you're, 17, 18, we allow them to date. Obviously, I don't want anything going on, but, I do strongly believe she'll do as my son has done and wait for marriage. But anyways, I'm just saying, it's like telling your daughter, go ahead and do it, but just do this and that. So a Russian Navy frigate and nuclear-powered submarine churned in Havana Harbor last month. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And that's just 100 miles from Key West, where my friend lives, who just visited me a couple weeks ago. It's a wonderful visit with him, my dear friend. From our radio jobs, we worked at together in a year, only for 1 year. It was the year before 9/11, my first full-time talk show. And he was at one of the music stations, and he's like this fiercely independent, but he is pretty honest and direct. And I love him very much. I respected him always, and had a wonderful. I just had those. That was a place with a couple people that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. We worked miserable hours all the time because we were all running these stations because we were in small markets and did our shows. But it was a beautiful time. I'd never change it for my life ever. My wife and I were there, of course. Here we go. So that's that. I'm asking you. Why do you think China and Russia would be more likely to invade Taiwan and take more of Ukraine with Biden Kamala as president? And why would our adversaries be more afraid of Trump than Kamala Biden? I think it's because they can't predict what he'll do, and they know he'll do what he needs to do to stop it beforehand and to attack harshly and like he did with Qasem Soleimani. I don't think you can you can ever underestimate how much of a deal it was when he killed Qasem Soleimani, unprovoked, out of nowhere, quote unquote, unprovoked. It was the best thing in the world. It was provoked, though. I mean, he'd been attacking us through his trainees, arming them, training them, and telling them how to kill us, etc. For so long. So, and of course, also killing our troops in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. And arming and training Lebanon and the Hezbollah in the north, and same thing with the Houthis in Yemen. I'm going to say this again. I did not fully appreciate in any way, shape, or form as a talk show host until Iran did what it did to our Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel, how much of a state sponsor of terror they are. Because, we've heard that for years. But if you look at a map and you see that Iran armed, trained, and funded terrorism and killing our soldiers in Afghanistan, put that on the map, light that country up. In Iraq, put that on the map, light that country up. Lebanon, put that on the map, light that country up. Yemen, put it on the map, light that country up. Gaza with Hamas. And you can just go, that's that caliphate they're trying to create, and they're so close. And with Biden and another Kamala, they would hit the jackpot. And we would be going to World War III. And even if she would walk her way backwards into war. And Joe would be too. And he is. So that's that. Jennifer Aniston, meanwhile, says she wants to pray for J.D. Vance in a rare political dig. Where completely with or without a mate, with or without a child. Oh, she talked about she's attacking him for saying these childless cat ladies. Did you hear that one? Oh, it's great. I'll play it for you another time. But he attacked childless cat ladies for running the Democrat Party and saying, they're the ones in control, suburban ladies with no kids. And then they attacked him for it and said he's against single moms and this and that. Single moms are not childless. So now he's on the defensive. He didn't say that recently. He said it recently before he was the nominee, but it is what it is. But so there she is. And I mean, dude, she's on another planet. And that's why she supports the Kamala Biden stuff, because poor woman, doesn't know what's going on out there, actress or not.